Hello, everybody, and welcome to Transforming Today Show. I am your host, Rebecca Weintraub, and I am here today with our guest, Rachell Kitchen. Hello, Rachell.
Hey, Rebecca, how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I am awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to do this with you.
You're so welcome. So I just have to let our viewers in on this. This is our third time starting the show today because of technology getting in the way.
I'm trying not to have the giggles.
I totally have them, so it's okay. We can giggle all we want. So we are going to try to get through the giggles and present to you a beautiful program talking about Rachell. And why don't you tell us what you do for your coaching?
Absolutely. I am CEO of Level Up for Life Coach, and women hire me to thrive in what I call the concentrated chaos. Because most often, we put up this powerful persona on the outside, and we're secretly a hot mess on the inside. We are overwhelmed, sacrificing, and suffering in silence. And so I really help women make powerful choices so that they can implement a plan and solutions, and more importantly, get relief from the chaos and have joy through that. I mean, let's face it, all of us have some concentrated chaos going on in one form or another. And the absence of moving out of that is what makes us a victim to our circumstances. And we just don't have to be.
Well, I wish I met you about a month ago because this past month has been extremely hectic for me. I felt extremely overwhelmed. And it's funny, I spoke to a coach on Sunday and he was just able to diffuse a lot of it. And today, actually yesterday, I woke up and I felt so much better. It's the power of coaching, of course.
And how amazing is that? And most of the time, strong, successful women, we're doers. We are the people that get it done. We tell ourselves and have been told and taught, we got to suck it up, put on your big girl panties, get over it, move through it. And we never ask for help. And we become the victim of our circumstances, and we suffer in silence. We're crying. We can't figure out what's wrong with us. We feel stuck. And this is why. And that's the power of coaching.
So you obviously have these methods and you've had successes helping women. And I have to assume that you must have went through something in order to arrive at the solution for so many others.
Oh my gosh, Rebecca, when I hear myself tell people my story, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I went through that. But now that I'm on the other side of some of these transitions, I realize that it were not for my coach and the many coaching relationships that I had on the way, I would not be here. Prime example, I'm an empty nester. And not only did my youngest one move away and on her own, she got engaged, she moved across the country. In the middle of that, I was dismantling a 28-year marriage that I never wanted dismantled. My mom had cancer. I had some scares of breast cancer. And then you throw on top of that, my dad was beaten in the streets and murdered, and he died from his injuries, from the beating. And all of this happened in a very short time frame. And had it not been for getting in relationship with a coach, because the impetus was, hey, I told my kids, who do you control? We only control ourselves. So I thought, okay, how can I be a better mom, a better wife, a better daughter, blah, 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 blah. So I sought out to figure it out, came across coaching, and that was the best and most valuable thing I could have ever done. Because what it did for me is I got in relationship with myself. And that is more powerful than anything. I mean, when we get in those bouts, we tend to overrate the power of the obstacle and underrate the power within us. And that's what coaching did for me.
Wow, I love what you just said. I want to touch on that, but I first want to acknowledge, especially your father. I'm so sorry that that happened to him. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And the court case was arduous. I was bullied and harassed by the defendant's family. It was just a really horrific thing to be dealing with on top of everything else.
So when you're in a situation like that and you're experiencing that, and it's real emotions, it's real help that you need. How when you just said, that the obstacle seems larger than the power that's within you in order to overcome it, h- how do you navigate through that when you're actually going through it?
Again, it was the relationship with my coach keeping me grounded and focused. Because again, women don't want to ask for help. We're thinking we got to tackle it all. And as a part of the coaching relationship, I was able to learn to prioritize. I was able to learn some skills that I now teach my clients today. The power of the flip switch, as a matter of fact, I give that away as a free tool, a mini training on just how to get out of those destructive thoughts that can just get a hold of you and keep you rooted in the negativity and the spot that you're standing in, and you can't make a decision and move forward. So it was really the coaching relationship, I have to say, and just the work that I did along the way and through each transition to keep me grounded, to understand how I wanted to show up, how that tied to my values, my real values, because let's be honest, society, our parents, our bosses, everyone we've ever come across has somehow imprinted something on us that we picked up that maybe we are living by that isn't our true value.
Mm.
And then we wonder why we are out of sync and can't quite navigate, and we're feeling like a hot mess on the inside.
Yeah, that would probably do it.
Yeah, yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah, values are an interesting thing because it was, when I came into IPAC, like we talk a lot about values when we're going through IPAC, and it was something that I never really valued. I didn't really get it. I didn't understand how important it is um, to the integrity we have for ourselves and also the authenticity that we share with the world.
Absolutely.
So this is like, value mining, that concept is like really, really new to me. So when you were going through that, what values, maybe the top 3 or 5, came up for you as the ones you live by today?
Oh gosh. One was trust. It was ha- and it really showing up as me and honoring my word. And then consistency, being consistent. And that was a big one because of my kids. I had to be consistent and honor my word
Mm.
and do what I said I would do. That was a big one. The trust, um, and really being of service,
Mm.
being of service. And something you talked about our IPEC training, I'll share this with you. This was an huge aha moment for me. Once I got into the coaching relationship and figured out that, you know what, I was being of service to people already in my everyday life, even though things were happening, and knowing that my higher calling was to help other women so that they didn't have to feel alone and go through what I did.
Mm.
And as a part of the IPEC training, we had an exercise, and you might remember this, where we were asked to um, actually call someone
Mm.
and ask them, do you remember this exercise? Ask
Yeah.
them what your superpower or what your gifts are, or what your strength was, and you had to actually speak to them. And of course, the overachiever, Rachell, she called 3 people. And the resounding theme, I will never forget this. I get chills when I think about it. When I called my daughter and I told her what I was doing, well, first I texted her to make sure she'd pick up the phone. But when I got her on the phone and I told her what I was doing, she immediately, without hesitation, said, Mom, it's your capacity to love.
Mm.
and the fact that you have your values and you live by them. You truly do. And that theme was running throughout the other two conversations that I had. And I never thought of that as a gift or as a strength or something that I really valued. And now that I do, and I can align everything um, with that, is so powerful, Rebecca. It is life changing, life changing.
Well, I mean, I can see it. For me, like you glow. And for me, you just, when you speak, you're so authentic. And you were talking about, doing that hard work. And, you know, a, a few years ago, I went through a significant transformation. And once I arrived, I thought I could slack off on what got me there.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was my life over time, just like, I lost that, like the luster, the spark, the miracles, like everything that makes life amazing started to like, you
Yes.
know, it was getting dull.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering what you do to keep all of the work that you did alive and to keep yourself shining the way that you do every day.
Again, it goes back to the discoveries that I made in the coaching relationships. And I continue to have multiple coaches for various areas of my life. I have a coach for my business. I have a coach for my personal life. I have a coach for my spiritual journey. And some of the tools that I've learned from those relationships, huge, is a gratitude journal.
Mm.
And I read consistently. If you've never read, and that this was a theme in, I believe her name is Sarah Brownback, Simple Abundance. It's a book that you follow yearly, and she talks about the gratitude journal in there as well. And I recommend that to my clients. But every day, whether it be at the end of the day or at the beginning of the next day, I try to write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. And we tend to think of gratitude that it has to be this big, grandiose thing that happened to us for us to pause and express gratitude. That's not the case. It can be the little things that build to show us how rich and how full our lives are. And sometimes an entry might just simply be, I got a nose kiss from the dog, or
Mm.
oh my gosh, leftovers from the night before so I don't have to cook. Oh my goodness, that guy that I didn't know at the grocery store held the door for me and he smiled at me and said hello.
Mm.
And when you get in a funk, I can pick up that gratitude journal and read some of the entries and realize on a day-to-day basis how full and rich my life is if I am just open to experience it and not lingering and becoming a victim of my circumstances.
Yeah, so actually, let's talk about going from like a victim mentality to going to, being responsible for self and choosing the perspective that you want to have on life, et cetera, et cetera. So when you went through your transition, how significant was it when you went from sort of this victim thinking? And of course, it was like, we can't fault ourselves for, as IPEC says, there's no judgment on what any of the energy levels.
Exactly.
Um, Sometimes we're just put in circumstances where it just puts us right to level 1, and sometimes right to level 6 or level 7. So when you were kind of, I don't want to say forced, but when all the things around you were kind of pointing you in that direction of maybe level 1, level 2, um, what was that like to be there and then to kind of get yourself elevated in those energy levels as you came out?
Great question. Thank you for asking me that, because I am a huge believer in that none of the energy levels are good or bad, and they all have disadvantages and advantages. And what I learned, first of all, the awareness around where I was and accepting it. not judging it, just, okay, this is where I am. And depending on how I wanted to show up and how I needed to show up, I could spur to action. I'll give you kind of an example. Um, when my daughter first, had graduated college, and I was on the drive back from dropping her off, moving her into her big girl apartment, and she was in Columbus. I'm here in the Chicago area. I'm halfway through the 6-hour drive, and it hit me. You're going home to an empty house. This is the new normal. You are really empty nesting now. You're going to soon be a divorced woman. This is it. And yeah, I was having a little bit of a pity party. So what I was aware, I'm going to accept that I'm having the pity party. I'm not going to push it down, step over it, try to ignore that it wasn't happening. I pulled the car over. I said, okay, I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes. I'm going to cry about this, do whatever I need to do. And then I'm going to pull myself together and get safely down the road. And as I drove and turned the radio off and listened to say, okay, now what are you going to do about it? And I'm sure passerbyers thought I was a little nuts as I talked myself through this, but it was, okay, accept that you're here. What are you going to do about it? And there were a few things. Well, you could go home and get in your comfiest jammies and just have a good long cry and wallow and woe is me. Or you could figure out a way to step into the new normal, lean in, if you will. So I thought, okay, new way of being, new way of doing. I'm going to stop at the market, even though I was dog tired from unpacking. I'm going to stop at the market. I'm going to make something new, something that I've never had. And I'm a brown girl, and from where I come from, we don't eat much eggplant. And I discovered that I love eggplant.
Oh.
Out of this experience. That they just happened to catch my eye when I went in the market. So I'm Googling how I'm going to prepare this eggplant. And that's what I did. I came home, I made the eggplant, I plated it up, I had it at my dining room table, and I stepped into the new normal by taking on something that I hadn't done before, just leaned in. And it all started with awareness, accepting where I was, whether that was victim, licking the wounds, woe is me, and then that can spur you into action.
I absolutely love that you said that. And like it's so funny that you talked about the 20-minute thing and then like you just kind of snap yourself out of it. I've done that for years, and I don't know if someone taught me that or not, but like when I'm feeling sad, I'll set like, okay, in 5 minutes, like this is all you get right now.
Yeah.
If you do it in 10 minutes again, like, well, but it's part of that discipline of saying, okay, acknowledging even that you have the emotion in the first place,
Right.
knowing that it's not good or bad, it just is. It needs to pass through you. You need to let it go. We don't want to get anything stuck inside. So let's just set a timer for right now and let's just let it out. And it really is effective. And then it's like automatically switching you into some kind of action mode. And,
Exactly.
and I love that you use that analogy with your daughter, taking her to college and everything. And, I was wondering, like, when you talked about like the chaos going on inside and that we're a hot mess inside, like when you were going through that, the way that you kind of outlined it, it was a little bit logistical and kind of like calculated. These are the steps that I'm going to take. But let's go a little bit deeper. Let's talk about what that felt like.
Girl, from moment to moment, I could go from high to low to anywhere in between. And the least things could trigger me. I could be standing in line in the grocery store and somebody say something or something totally unrelated to what might be happening would trigger something in me, either physically or sensory wise. And I'm down the rabbit hole, absolutely down the rabbit hole. But again, the work that I had done outside of the coaching sessions and between coaching sessions and the tools that I learned, I was able to acknowledge what I was feeling, not step over it, and in a sense, embrace it and just know it's okay. that you're feeling this or that way. It's okay. And when I was really struggling, and this is hard for a lot of women, right? To, to ask for help,
Mm.
to ask for help. If I really just couldn't get out of it and someone needed to talk me off the ledge, phone a friend, phone my coach, phone my mentor, someone who really could have that empathy. I don't know if you've ever seen, it's a cartoon short by Brene Brown, where she talks about sympathy and empathy.
Mm.
And while all well-meaning, we have people in our lives who love us and want the best for us, and they can sympathize with what we're going through, but sometimes they have an agenda for us. They feel they know best, and it takes the rare relationship for someone to just get in the back of the cave with you, climb down in the hole, and hold that safe space for you so that you can work it out. And we as women, or in anyone really, has to learn how to ask for that help. And as coaches, we have to become masters, if you will, of holding that space for others. And that's why it's important for us to have our house in order so that we can be effective and do that.
Absolutely. And, I'm wondering, when you were doing that work, how much of it was done in real time as far as the lessons that you were learning, the tools that you were gathering? How much what did
Wow.
you know before, and how much had to be acquired as you were going through this transformation?
Thank you for asking that. That's a great question. Because I think every moment, absolutely, no, I know from the roots of my hair to the tips of my toes, absolutely every moment was a learning and a teachable moment in some way. I either learned something about myself, I learned something about what I value, I would learn something about how I wanted to show up or how I didn't want to show up. I
Mhm.
would learn something about others and how to interact with them in the world around me. So just every moment.
So let's talk about all the tools that you gathered and
Sure.
all the perspective, the different angles that you were able to see after going through the thick of it. How much of that do you use with your clients in your coaching sessions?
Oh, quite a bit. Maybe not in every session, but part of our journey is to discover how we can get out of our own box and get out of our own way, because we each have a lens through which we see the world, and that's based on our experiences, the house that we grew up in, where we grew up, a whole list of things that made us who we are today. And understanding that we can put on a different pair of glasses and look at things from a different perspective can be huge and life changing, especially when we pause in the moment to do it. And for me, that helps me not be reactive. It helps me be at conscious choice. It
Mhm.
helps me move through purposefully. And I try to, it's like the easy button. You try to give the client the pause button. And whether you pause for a second, the 20 minutes, a day, a week, just pause and pick up a different pair of glasses and look at this differently. What comes up? And then deal with what comes up, figure out how what comes up is in alignment or not in alignment with what you really value, and then make a conscious choice to get in action and move forward.
So can we take sort of like a little case study on that, just to kind of give our viewers an example of what that might look like in real time?
Sure. So let's say um, you are in the throes of relationship issues, for example, and you are, ready to just let the other person have it because of something they said or did. And and you know that when you say what you're going to say, it's going to blow up and you're going to get down the rabbit hole and heaven knows where it's going to go. But let's say that you press your pause button, and even if it's just for a minute or two, to just say, okay, let me play this out in my head. One, how do I really want to show up and what's the outcome for me? And then play it out in your head. Once you've pressed that pause button, how do you want to show up? And is the action that is the knee jerk, your natural tendency, is that going to get you the result? Well, okay. Well, then let's put on a different pair of glasses. Let me look at it from a different perspective. How might the person, whatever they did, said, or what have you, that upset you, that triggered the reaction, how might I look at that differently? Versus it being attack or whatever you were picking up. And when you can look at it from a different lens, you can have a little bit of empathy. You can see how you might react differently to get you the desired outcome. Does that make sense?
It does. And it's funny because one, part of the coaching that I do is I help people release their resentments. And so a lot of that is about picking up those different glasses, looking from a different perspective. And the one that's really meaningful when it comes to releasing resentments is looking at your own side of the street, so to speak, and being able to identify the things that maybe you did or said or ways you were thinking, etc., that could have been a part and most likely were a part in that situation as to why you're resentful. Exactly. And so I like that you're talking about this because it's really powerful. Like when you can do that, like it's not just looking at the other person and saying, oh, maybe they were tired, or that driver that cut you off, maybe they got a call and they were waiting from the hospital of a loved one, it's like we can look in that sense and we can change our perspective quickly when we allow for, when we allow empathy for others. Right. But taking a step where we can look at ourselves and see where we may have wanted to choose something different, that's a lot harder.
It is.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if when you went through your process, if there were things that you had to look at, that you had to own, that you never did before, that once you did, things either opened up or let go.
Well, and some of the stuff I'm still doing work on. I have this mirror exercise that I do with clients, and I had taken on, as who I thought I really was, taking on the roles that I was doing at the time. I was looking, it's like the funhouse mirror where you can see it's you, but it's all distorted and you don't recognize yourself. I had taken on all these things, what other people thought of me, what I thought other people thought of me, and was moving through the world in that way and just totally blinded to one, what I valued and how I really wanted to show up. And that was a hard, scary thing to look at. And it was a process, and it took time to peel back those layers and deal with what was there and do the work really to figure out, okay, this is what it is. Come to acceptance around this. Okay, so now what are you going to do about it? It's just, you got to take the first scary look. And sometimes we think we're too busy. We don't want to take the look. We make all excuses of why we can't take the look. It's somebody else's fault why we can't do it. It's not my problem. But it really does start inward. You've got to take that look inward in order to move through the world in an outwardly way, that how you want to show up.
So let's take that action piece. Okay. Because in my mind, that's the hardest, right? Like I'm great at analyzing things and thinking through a bunch of things and coming up with whatever, this plan in my head. But to actually take action and like put something forth that might be so hard to do, especially in your own head, you've built it up so much. A lot of times I'll just say to myself, okay, what's the first baby step? and I reduce that like down to something so small. Maybe it's literally like, okay, get up and use the restroom, and that's your first step. Or, you know, get up and look in the mirror and smile at yourself. Like it literally could be anything. And so I'm wondering how you help your clients take that action.
Well, we obviously you want to have the big meta view in mind, but then you're going to break that down, just like you said, into the smallest possible piece. And then I would take that a step further, because you have the smallest possible piece that would be the ideal. But depending on where you are, what is the minimum and what's acceptable for you to do? What can you do based on your energy and where you are? And there's no judgment around it. And then holding that space and holding that person accountable to what they said they would do. Because how many times have we said, oh, I'm going to do blip, dip, 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 and we keep putting it off. We keep, oh, I'll get it tomorrow. It'll happen. And part of the coaching relationship and what I work with clients, and even, again, no judgment, holding the space. If you didn't get it done, let's take a look at why. Because there's usually something underneath that's happening, that hot mess underneath that we're feeling stuck in, that we can't even take that baby step. And it's kind of a cyclical process, right? We don't have the confidence to take action, so we don't take action. We don't have the confidence, so we don't take action. Round and round and round until we can break the cycle. And that's what I help my clients do.
So when they take that step of action, whatever it might be, how are you helping them celebrate that?
Oh gosh. Really, I ask them how they want to be celebrated, and I acknowledge it. Some people never get that acknowledgement, that, wow, that was brave of you. Wow, you did that. Congratulations. And this was shocking to me, because I've always just really loved on my kids and championing them and their efforts. And so that was shocking to me, to find out how many people don't have that in their lives. And so when you get that, what does that do for you?
It's interesting because I had a background in music when I was younger, and people would celebrate me all the time. But there I was, like listening back to the recording, being like, oh, I came in late there. I was flat there, you know, and I was always like searching for that last 1% that would get me to perfect. And of course, it's impossible to get there.
Yeah.
And so even though others were celebrating me, I could never do it for myself. And this was something that recently is like a new concept to me. And it really matters. And I do it with my clients too. I tell them to pat themselves on the back all the time.
Yes.
And
Physically pat yourself on the back. And
yes.
what are you going to do to celebrate? Boom. And I've had clients that will say to me, well, it was just no, it was something that was big for you. So no matter how small or how big, if it's important to the client, it's important to me. And I'm going to encourage them to celebrate it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And so how do you celebrate yourself?
Oh boy, let's see. Well, I love getting my mani and pedi, so I love doing that. My probably most favorite thing to do, I'm a runner, and I love winter running, and I know people think I'm crazy for that, but when it's the snowy days, 20, 30 degrees or lower, and I can go to my local arboretum, be the first when the gate opens, and run without my music, just alone with my thoughts, and have nature around me. I feel like Snow White, and then I'm going to burst into song any minute because the deer are coming out, the birds are chirping. That is a celebratory thing to me. And when I've accomplished something or done something, it's like, oh my gosh, I got to get to the arboretum. And even in the summer when it's blazing hot, I go there, I see something different, just spending time out in nature. And then, like I said, get my mani panties. That's something that I don't want to ever have to give up or feel like I have to give up.
All right. So what song would you sing?
Girl, let's see. It depends on the power song of the week. um, yeah, probably I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar.
All right, let's hear a little bit of it.
Or Katy Perry's Roar, that song, that was a
Yeah.
power song of mine. You know, the I'm stuck on this week. I forget who it's by. It's called Meant to Be. It's meant to be, meant to be. Meant to be, so that's the power song. And it's a repeat. I'm sure the neighbors are like, oh my gosh, she's playing that again. But it's just something about that song. And as we're even talking about it, what's coming up for me is to let go, to detach from the results. That's probably what's the message, is why it's powerful for me right now. I just figured that out. Because I didn't know why. I thought it was the beat. It was catchy. I heard it on the radio and downloaded it and have been playing it for like a week now. But that's probably why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by you, Rachell, because I've been on a journey of personal growth my entire life. Like, I had a lot of trauma in my life as a kid, like very, very young. And you
Yeah.
don't have a life like that if you're not supposed to help others and teach others from your own experiences, right? So like, I'm wired for personal growth, and I'm extremely like fascinated by the lightness of your energy, but yet how powerful it is.
Thank
And
you.
I'm wondering, like, what is the essence of that you carry?
Wow, that's a great question. And that's something I'm going to have to journal about, because I'm not exactly sure, other than just the love, that gift that I was told, my capacity to love. And that now I have learned to love myself,
Mhm.
to give so boldly and so deeply to myself, so that I can give even more boldly and deeply to others. And once I discovered that self piece, I think that somehow drives this, because I can't give what I don't have.
Mm.
And I want to give so much that the people that I come in contact with are left better than when I found them. Always.
Okay, if you guys are not seeing what I'm seeing, like seriously, like Rachell is absolutely incredible. It's
You.
obvious that everything that you've gone through, you've used it as a way to propel yourself forward and therefore be able to help others. And like you said, like if I forget the exact words, but I'm actually going to name it that. I'll listen back. It was something to the effect of, if you don't have it for yourself, then you can't give it to others. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's obvious that you have it, and what a blessing you are to all of your clients and everybody that you come in contact with, because your energy is just absolutely amazing,
Thank
and I feel the love coming right through. I really
you.
do.
I do. And I wish I could give you a virtual hug. I mean, that's really what abundance is. I'm reading this wonderful book, The Abundance Project. And it was things that but sometimes we don't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes 2 or 3 times to hear it. And just understanding that we don't have to achieve, be, or do anything. We already have absolutely everything we need. And so whether it's God, the universe, the source, whatever it is that you believe is the higher power outside of you, that abundance flows through you, not to you. And so if I am that, I radiate that abundance from the source, from God. and I can give at my highest level. I can give what needs giving, and there's always enough.
I completely agree with that. And I can't say for myself today, I feel that 100% because I'm working toward it again. But there was a time in my life for a number of years that I felt that every day. And I'd actually like to get your take on this. For me, like I'm highly intuitive and I help other coaches develop their intuition so they can better serve their clients and elevate their coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at level 6 and level 7, there were times in my life where I felt like there was maybe too much level 7. And I know IPEC says that it's something that can't be sustained, but I almost feel like I was living there so much with God's source running through me so intensely that I didn't know how to balance it. I didn't know how to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
I
And I
was
bet you felt drained in some ways.
well, that's where I was going with it. It's like
Yeah.
that's why I'm not just trying to get there again. I don't want to get there again because it wasn't sustainable. I did get drained and I got so drained that, not that I lost connection, but if we're talking level 1 to 10,
Mm-hmm.
I was like a 1 or 2 when I was like a 10 plus before.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering your take on how levels 6 and 7 have an interplay. And when you are really channeling God's source, and that is level 7 coming through you as it combines with your intuition, and you hit that flow where everything is just, there's miracles everywhere. Like you're just feeling like I know we don't believe in coincidences in IPEC, but those serendipitous moments that you can't explain. How are you able to sustain something like that without it tipping over the edge like it did for me?
And I guess again that's part of the blessing and the beauty of the energy levels in that um you can pull from anywhere. And I would say that's kind of woo woo. And in my former life as an industrial engineer, I was, you process, you do it this way, you do it that way, do it that way. And in many cases that serves me and keeps me somewhat grounded. Um, but then in other times, it can work against me because I'm in my head and I can't, or let me take that back. I have a hard time accepting what intuitively is coming to me because I'm trying to logic it out. And again, it's that awareness piece, knowing how to leverage the advantage or the disadvantage of, say, level 6 or 7,
Mhm.
and how to use that to your benefit to move you through whatever circumstance you got going on, as well as when you need to pick up and go down a level. So you
Mhm.
either borrowing from the level above or borrowing from the level below, or maybe 2 levels below. I know when I get mad and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in level 2, you better watch out because I'm like getting stuff done.
Mhm.
And knowing, not feeling like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that, or I don't, no, that's going to help me get stuff done. When I finally just said, you know what, I've had enough. Action. And then those times when I'm like in my head and you're talking yourself out of stuff, but the universe and God always has a way to tap you 1, 2, 3 times. And it may even knock you on your bum to say, all right, now I've tried to tell you, now I'm going to show you.
Mhm.
And obviously we don't want to do it hard. Let's do it the easier path. So it's really that awareness, just awareness, acceptance of where you are, and then figuring out where you're going to take action from, whether that's level 6, level 7, level 2. I call it AA. AAA. It's not the Alcohol Anonymous group, but it's AAA.
And what does that stand for?
Ex-
Acknowledge,
yeah, awareness,
awareness.
acceptance, and action.
I love that. Did you make that up?
No, that's somebody else's. But people say it all the time. And so I just, and it's true. That's really, if we can master that, rinse and repeat, master it, rinse and repeat, and understanding where we are. Okay, how do I want to show up? How is that in line with my values? Do I need a different pair of glasses? Maybe I do. Press pause, look at it. Okay, awareness, acceptance, and you may have to try on a few pairs of glasses to get there, and that's okay. No judgment, right? And we decide where we want to be and how we want to show up, and then we can get in action.
You make it sound so easy.
It's not. It's not. And that's the value of coaching. Because it is hard. It's hard. And it's hard to go it alone. And most powerful, strong, successful women, whether you're the CEO in the boardroom or the stay-at-home mom who's got the 3 babies, head of the PTA, she's running the community, blah, 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 me, it's hard. And you need support.
So, how do folks contact you to get that support?
Well, they can, go to my website. That is levelup4.coach, not .com, .coach, COACH. Grab the my free mini training that I've got going on there. It's going to help them into awareness, tell them about the fine warning signs. They may be a hot mess on the inside. It's going to give them that tool that we talked about, the flip switch on how to maybe get some relief right now. That will get them on my email community. And, I nurture that community with goodies throughout the week. And that'll help them lead them to my Facebook group where I do free weekly trainings, Wednesday live chat with Rachell around some topic. And we're really building a community of women who can bring their wisdom through the transitions that they've gone through in that within the Facebook group, so that we can level up together. Our shared wisdom rises all boats. And that's ultimately what I want to do. Create a movement where women can feel supported, come almost like a directory, if you will. Like, if I need a babysitter, I need this, I need help with that. And you've got a coalition of women who are giving from the heart, giving in good spirit, and just there to support. And that's where I want this eventually to go.
Oh my God, I want to live there. That sounds like, it sounds not just supportive, but it's like the theme we've been talking about, that love that you have. It's just like pouring into that space that you're creating. And I'm going to sign up when we're done here. So I want weekly little tidbits that you're going to give me, and I want to watch your Wednesday shows. So
yeah, this Wednesday, we're talking about how not to put your life and fulfillment on layaway.
Wow.
And if you're not familiar with layaway, I'm showing my age a little bit here, but basically, being 53 and all.
Well, I'm younger than that, and I remember layaway. So
yeah, so you remember layaway, where you put down a little deposit, and they held all your cute little things until you could get more money, get more figured out, blah blah blah. And a lot of us are putting our life of fulfillment on layaway, and we're going to talk about that in this week's Wednesday live chat with Rachell.
I love that. So our viewers will see this after you have that. So guys, go back, and is there a recording that they'll be able to see?
Yeah, if they join the private Facebook group, and that group is Life Support for Women in Transition. If they join the group, they can go back and use the hashtag Wednesday live chat, and they can view all of the Wednesday live chats there, and the Thursday thought questions as well, because on Thursdays we come up with some questions that kind of will take you deeper.
Unbelievable. I love it. I love this. And I loved our time together. This was like absolutely amazing. Like, thank you so much for being here. I learned so much. And really, it was truly a blessing to have you.
And thank you so much for the work that you are doing. I love this concept of transforming today because, again, shared wisdom raises all boats and raises the awareness and consciousness of everyone here on the planet. So thank you so much for the work that you do.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I want to also thank our viewers for being here today. This was such a special episode, and I hope that you guys got as much as I did out of this. Truly, Rachell is an incredible woman. And ladies, if you're struggling right now and you just need some help, maybe you're going through something and you really have gotten to the point where you can't do it alone, reach out to Rachell. We have her contact information right on this recording, so go back and take a look at that. Sign up for her Facebook group, sign up for her email list, get that free tidbit on her website. This has just been a wonderful, wonderful day, and you've made it that way for me, Rachell. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca, for having me.
I thank you all for being here, and that's it for today. Thanks so much. Bye, guys.
Bye. Do you need a nap, sweetie? Are you sure you still don't have cooties?
I think some are still lingering. All right, let's shake it off. Shake it off.
No biggie. Take 3. This is the one that's going to be brilliant.
3, 3, 3. Don't they say 3 is the charm or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.